Hi there, Year 5, it's Mrs. Flavell here, and we're going to do some science work on reproduction in plants. Now, there are one or two words in here you'll probably just have a little giggle about as you use them, but they are the correct terms for this part and process of plant reproduction. By the end of this, you'll be able to describe how some plants will reproduce, and you'll be able to explain the difference between sexual and asexual reproduction, identify the function of the parts of a flower, and describe ways that plants are pollinated in order to reproduce themselves. So, in reproduction, all living things need to make more of themselves so that their species doesn't die out. Reproduction is the process by which new living things are made. There are two types of reproduction, sexual and asexual. Sexual reproduction requires two parents to make one offspring. Asexual reproduction needs only one parent, which creates offspring that are exact copies of that parent. Reproduction. In this lesson, you'll learn more about sexual reproduction in plants. Living things that use sexual reproduction have sex cells called gametes. These are split into male gametes and female gametes. In some living things, the male and the female are separate, but in other living things, one organism contains both male and female gametes. In plants, the male gametes are contained in the pollen and the female gametes are called ovules. Sexual reproduction happens when a male gamete and a female gamete join. This is called fertilization. Sexual reproduction produces offspring that are similar to both parents, but not identical to each other. First of all, I want you to draw and label the reproductive parts of the flowering plant. So basically, just copy this plant and take note and ideas where each of the parts are on the plant so that you understand each part of the plant and what happens at each stage when reproduction takes place in that plant. So pause the video, give yourself time to copy it out and understand the diagram about where each part is. What I want you to do is I want you to look at the different things. So decide whether it's sexual or asexual, that the column that it will go into. So some of the statements describe sexual reproduction and some describe asexual reproduction. Can you decide which are which? Go back through the information to help you do this if you need to. So we've got offspring are similar to their parents but not identical. We've got requires just one parent. We've got needs two parents and produces identical offspring. Pause, have a go, write them in the correct place, and then we'll look at the answers in a moment. So the answers are, in sexual reproduction, the offspring are similar to the parents but not identical, needs two parents. And the asexual part requires just one parent and it produces identical offspring to itself. So our questions are, which two ways can living things reproduce? Why do living things need to reproduce? What is different between asexual and sexual reproduction? What are the sex cells called? In plants, where are the male and female gametes stored? What happens with fertilization in a plant? So, the two ways living things can reproduce are sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. So, why do living things need to reproduce? All living things need to make more of themselves so that their species doesn't die out. That means the species doesn't become extinct like the dinosaurs or the dodo. The difference in sexual reproduction, asexual and sexual reproduction, is sexual reproduction requires two parents to make one offspring, and asexual reproduction needs only one parent, which creates offspring that are exact copies of that parent. So, what are the sex cells called? Well, the living things that use sexual reproduction have sex cells. They are called gametes, G-A-M-E-T-S, and these are split into female and male gametes. So there's a female part to the plant and a male part to the plant. So in plants, where are the male and the female gametes stored? In plants, the male gametes are contained in the pollen and the female gametes are called ovules. What happens with fertilization in a plant? Well, fertilization is when the male gamete and the female gamete join in the plant, and then fertilization happens so that a plant can reproduce itself. I know it's slightly a shorter lesson today, but it's an important one that you remember these parts of the plant because it will come in useful in a future lesson where we go into a little bit more detail about what happens during pollination of the plant. Now, make sure that you look out for the quiz at the end of the week because there will be a history and science quiz based on by the work done by myself and Mrs. Bastable. So look out for it. You need the answers to this or from this to be able to do the quiz. So take care, kids. Stay safe. Bye.